Hi everyone, I'm Julia from Kranick Solar. Thanks for joining our webinar today with SolarEdge. Before we get started, I'm just going to be giving a quick presentation about Kranick. Kranick Solar is headquartered in Germany and was founded by Kurt Kranick. Since being founded, Kranick has expanded into 26 different countries and can ship to over 100 countries. As a privately owned and self-financed company, we hold a significant market share and rank among the leading wholesalers globally. With 29 years of experience in delivering solar products worldwide, we've become experts in our field. Our international purchasing power helped us build stronger relationships with your favorite manufacturers, such as SolarEdge, to secure the best pricing and availability. In 2005, Kranick expanded into the U.S., opening our first branch in New Jersey. Today we have branches in California and Florida, and we're expanding into Texas, with additional warehouses across the nation. Our U.S. team consists of over 80 employees that service the Americas and strive to offer the best services and options to our partners. We are growing every day, so keep an eye out for where we might be next. Kranick is the top partner for installation companies seeking PV system products. In our role as an internationally operating wholesaler, we can make a significant contribution to shaping the energy transition. With every PV system we supply, we come closer to the target of carbon neutrality and fulfill our mission of paving the way for 100% renewable energies. Our company values are the drivers of our success and our inspiration in a dynamic market. Throughout the years, we have grown our product portfolio to provide over 5,000 products. We've partnered with leading manufacturers worldwide to offer the best materials for a project of any size, whether it's an off-grid system, 4-panel shingled roof, or a megawatt flat roof. Choosing Kranick means you'll never work alone. Our streamlined ordering process ensures that each customer receives a dedicated sales rep, guiding them through every step from project design to on-site delivery. The solar industry is always innovating and changing. At Kranick, we're committed to keeping you informed about the latest products and technologies. We collaborate with industry leaders and seasoned professionals to offer first-hand training on everything you need to know, and it's always for free. And this concludes my portion of the webinar. Here's our contact information if you would like to reach out for a quote, or if you have any questions regarding the products or services we offer. And if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to ask them using the question box, and they'll all be answered throughout the presentation. Thank you again for joining us, and now I'll pass it along to Jacob and Varsha at SolarEdge.
Thank you so much, Julia. Thanks for having us. Hey, everybody. Good morning and good afternoon. I'm going to start with some quick introductions. So I am Varsha Narasimhamurthy. I work as a Senior Product Marketing Manager at SolarEdge. And my journey in solar began in 2015, and I've focused on product marketing C&I products for the last 5 years. And joining me today is Jacob Faber, a Field Applications Engineer at SolarEdge. He's also focused on the C&I segment. Jacob entered the solar industry in 2019, and he brings over 6 years of expertise in training teams. With our combined experience, we are ready to delve into today's session. So let's get started. Okay, so next slide. Okay, let's see what's in store for our exciting session today. We will start by diving into the essentials of SolarEdge Designer. I will talk through some of the coolest and most cutting-edge features that make SolarEdge Designer shine. And our start of the show, Jacob will give you a live demonstration of SolarEdge Designer in action. And we'll wrap it up with some valuable insights and a sneak peek into the roadmap, so you know what exciting things are coming your way next year. And then we'll end with some Q&A. So with that out of the way, let's dive into what the SolarEdge Designer tool is and what it can do. So Designer is a powerful, innovative tool that empowers you to craft accurate SolarEdge designs, streamlining the entire PV system design and simulation process for seamless translation into real installations. You can design, validate, and estimate PV production for systems of all sizes. With SolarEdge Designer, you have all the capabilities you need in one comprehensive tool. And that means from site modeling to PV layout, electrical design, production simulation, and financial analysis, SolarEdge Designer provides an all-in-one software solution for generating PV system designs and creating professional reports and proposals for potential customers. So just some quick SolarEdge Designer facts for you. Next slide, please, Jacob. Okay, there we go. So with Designer, we stand behind the quality and reliability of every project design by offering a comprehensive 25-year warranty. And SolarEdge Designer has been widely adopted around the world, and we've got an impressive track record of 2.8 million successful layouts created on Designer. And you will be joining a global community of over 50,000 users who've embraced SolarEdge Designer in more than 170 countries. Okay, so in terms of the audiences, SolarEdge Designer caters to sales professionals and PV designers. So for sales professionals, it enables proposal customization and highlighting the advantages of SolarEdge solutions. And it aids customer interactions, particularly by allowing building and system owners to visualize the system, including showcasing production results, designing layouts, bill of materials, and all the associated details. And for professional designers, Designer software becomes an indispensable tool by offering detailed design capabilities and guiding the entire design process for SolarEdge projects with accuracy, efficiency, and optimal system performance. So there are several different reasons to use SolarEdge Designer, but I was just going to outline the top 10 benefits of using Designer for you. As most of you already are aware, it's totally free to use. There's no fees involved. And I did mention this, your designs come with a solid 25-year warranty. And Designer combines the capabilities of Helioscope and PVSys, providing you with a comprehensive tool that simplifies and enhances your design workflow. And the simulations are accurate and validated by third parties, like DNVGL. And what this means is, for example, DNVGL has performed a comparison of the energy estimation process between Designer and PVSys and has determined that the storage energy estimates were slightly lower on average with respect to PVSys by approximately 0.2% annually. So we are on par with what you would expect with PVSys modeling based on system losses. So the production analysis is a bankable estimation that can be used for project financing. And because it provides automatic suggestions for inverters, optimizers, string sizing, and other design parameters, it is able to ensure the optimal system performance for the project. And then Designer goes beyond traditional data sheets, allowing adjustments for mismatch and optimizing designs, resulting in an increased energy yield. And then exporting all the data into a report and proposal is a breeze, and it can be easily shared with your teams and customers. And it provides detailed financial analysis, which enables you to forecast system costs and any future financial rewards with precision. And the other thing is there is no professional training required to navigate Designer. It is user-friendly and intuitive. And the last powerful piece is that it seamlessly integrates with the SolarEdge monitoring portal. So when you're using SolarEdge for a project and you will need to build the site into the monitoring portal for O&M purposes for the life of the system, if you've already created a design on the Designer platform, you can easily export this into the monitoring platform with just a click of a button and hassle-free. Okay, next slide. So while SolarEdge Designer is a game changer for SolarEdge projects, we do want to address one scenario where it may not be the ideal choice. And I'm sure most of you guessed it, right? It's when you're designing non-SolarEdge projects that use different technologies and inverters. Okay, so from project creation to final design, SolarEdge Designer offers a range of automated design assistance tools that streamline your workflow and enhance your overall experience. The automated design assistance tools for project creation specifically take out the guesswork from the equation, saving you time and effort by automating various design aspects. For example, the roof outline detection feature helps you to easily define the shape and dimensions of the roof, ensuring precise design alignment. There is a PV autofill facet feature that automatically populates the roof area with solar panels, ensuring maximum energy production and efficient use of available space. There is also an irradiance tool that provides valuable insights into the amount of solar energy available, helping you fine-tune the system design for optimal performance. And the equipment recommendation feature eliminates guesswork by recommending inverters, optimizers, and other components that align with the specific requirements of your project. There is also an auto stringing feature, also called as a magic wand. It's my favorite one. This automatically determines the stringing configuration that's optimal for your solar panels, which ensures maximum energy production for your system. This means that you can use the flexibility of designing longer strings with SolarEdge to create fewer strings, and that results in less wiring, fewer combiner boxes, fuses, and other balance of system components. The second part is by using SolarEdge Designer's advanced validation features, you can ensure that your design meets the required standards and is set up for the long-term success. So whether it means optimizing string configurations, or making any other modifications, SolarEdge Designer enables you to customize the designs for maximum efficiency. And lastly, with the integration and sharing capabilities of SolarEdge Designer, you can streamline your design process and seamlessly share the designs with your team and customers. So SolarEdge Designer integrates with PVSys. I think I mentioned this briefly before. It's a widely used solar design software, and the integration allows you to leverage the strengths of both the tools, combining SolarEdge Designer's precision and PVSys' advanced analysis capabilities. And additionally, by leveraging the SolarEdge API, you can integrate the designer's functionality into your CRM system, streamlining project management and enhancing collaboration with your customers. So in a nutshell, with SolarEdge Designer, you have all the convenience, accuracy, and efficiency that you need to take your designs to the next level. So that concludes my overview on Designer, and I will hand it off to Jacob to step us through the live demo. Over to you, Jacob.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Varsha. You can hear me okay?
Yeah, all good.
Great. So yeah, we'll get into a little demo of how Designer works for a small commercial system. And make sure to save any questions you have. We'll have a Q&A at the end. So we're going to start from the very beginning, which is where you access Designer. It can be accessed on the SolarEdge website. Under the installers dropdown is a link. You click on Launch Designer, it'll take you to your login page. So if you already have a login for the monitoring portal, it's going to be the same exact email and password to get into Designer. If you don't, check with your company. If your company has an account, they can add you as a user. And if that also isn't true, you can just sign up here and create an account the way you would for almost any online service. So I'm just going to log in here. When you first log into Designer, you're going to see a list of all of the projects that you have access to. That can include projects within your group organization or just your own projects. There are filters up here to choose which projects you want to see in the list. I'm going to filter down just to my projects, and you can go into here to access, duplicate, delete any of the projects, or share them with other users. What we're going to do today is going to start by creating a new project. I'm going to choose commercial project for us. And at the very start, we're going to enter just basic project details. So we'll call this one the December webinar demo. And we have a address search feature powered by Google Maps. So when you input your address, I've copied my address here. When you input your address, it's just going to look it up, using Google Maps. You can click on the correct address. I've chosen this building that I used to live near in Philadelphia. And what you can see is you can pan around the mapped space and select the area for your project. So you can drag and drop the pointer for where the drawing space of your project is going to be. Everything that's within this blue box is going to be accessible to you throughout the building of the project. Anything outside of the blue box is not. So just be careful when you're setting that. You know, if you want to zoom in closely, because we're just going to be looking at this small rooftop today, this doesn't give you the ability to expand your system. So in future, you may want to add carports in the parking lot or some modules over on this part of the building. For that reason, I like to keep the drawing box area large. That's the one thing you can't change is the address and the drawing box after you've clicked create down here. All this other stuff you can change. So what's the grid parameters? We'll do a typical 480 volt grid today. Any of this customer information and notes, export limitations that we want to put on the site. For now, we'll leave all that blank because we don't want to get too complicated in our demo. And I'll click create. So on the left side of the screen, you'll see is basically a taskbar that runs through each tab sequentially how you're going to build out your project. So if you want to input energy costs, this is really good for determining the ROI of your system. You can select the utility provider, select a type of rate, a specific service. For any of these, if you can't find it in the existing list, you can click at the bottom, can't find your rate, and enter in your own information for that. For the consumption profile, I'm going to take a sort of wild guess, maybe 1/4 megawatt hours per year. You can select a consumption profile from some built-in profiles. This is a Staples store, so we'll choose the commercial shopping. But if you want to get very granular in your data, you can upload interval consumption data. If you only have a week's worth of data, it'll still extrapolate that data out to a year, you know, or even longer if that's the analysis or simulation term that you want to choose. So uploading as much data as you have is always better for higher degree of accuracy. But if you don't have that, you can choose from the built-in profiles. So we'll move on to the next step now, which is the site modeling. This will look probably pretty similar to any other PV design softwares that you've used before. You're going to, so some basic controls with the left mouse, that's your, select and click. Right mouse is going to be to pan. If you hold down the scroll, you can rotate the image on your screen and then use the scroll wheel for zooming in and out. So what we're going to do is we're going to outline this building in 2 dimensions, and then we're going to switch over to the 3 dimension and change the height of the features as we wish. So I'll start with one of the cool automated features, which is the roof outline detection. So you click on that in the top taskbar. You draw a box over the area that you want it to detect the roof, and Designer's automatically going to find the edges of that roof for you. And you can go in and edit it manually. If you want to drag, you can see in the corner here, it'll show you that the angle is at 9 degrees. This is good. You want to always keep an eye out, make sure the angles are what we want. And this is good for the outside edge. I'll show you how to do it manually to do the inside edge of the roof. The way I like to do it is start from the corner, grab a 45-degree angle to the inside edge, and then just go all the way around. You'll see that the lines turn green when they're parallel with each other. So it makes sense that the inside edge and outside edge would be parallel. We're going to go all the way down to the next corner, keep those 2 lines parallel, and find another 45-degree angle with the corner. And you can just go like that all the way around and left mouse click once you've got that in the spot you want it. Oh, you see I just accidentally clicked there. So I'll click on that edge. I'm going to delete it, go back to draw, start in the previous corner, and continue up. So now we have a basic rooftop, inside edge, outside edge, drawn in 2 dimensions. If you click on a specific edge, you want to edit to a very specific length that you already have, taken measurements, either on-site measurements, or if you prefer to use Google Earth or some other software to get your measurements, you can write those in manually up here. And I'm going to jump over to the 3D section at the top, and this is where we can change the height of the roof. So If you grab on an edge and pull on it, you'll see that it'll just move that edge, and you'll change the height as well as the angle of that facet. That's the outside parapet here. I'm going to use the undo function, Control Z, just like you would expect to be able to use with keyboard shortcuts to bring that back down to a flat roof. If you double click on the outside edge, it's going to highlight everything that's within one facet. So I'm going to set the roof height for the outside edge to 27 feet and the inside edge to 25 feet. This is, just measurements that I know in advance for the webinar here. And now you can see, again, hold down your middle scroll wheel to rotate the image and see how your building looks, okay? I'm gonna go back to 2 dimensions, and now we wanna add some obstacles on the actual rooftop itself. So under Draw Obstacles, you just click there and then click on one corner, hold and drag to create a rectangular area around your obstacle, in this case, this little AC unit. And I'll make another obstacle for what I think is a rooftop hatch. So copy and paste again with your same keyboard shortcuts. You can Control C, move your mouse to where you want to paste, then click Control V. I'm going to delete that to show you one other method. First, we'll go over here and set the height of this obstacle. The AC unit, let's call it 6 feet tall. The rooftop hatch, probably half a foot tall. Again, we're not going to be super precise in the interest of time in our demo today, but of course, all of this, you can go and make exactly the heights that you need to. So I'll show you one other cool automated feature, and that is the automatic detection of obstacles. So for a small rooftop like this, copy and pasting twice is not really a problem. But when you're dealing with 1 megawatt, 2 megawatt systems, and they have, for example, a whole bunch of skylights on the roof, if you click on one obstacle, you're automatically going to be finding the other obstacles that look like that on the same rooftop. So first thing you'll do is you'll toggle the sensitivity a little bit, and you'll see that it's going to find these other ones. If you go way too sensitive, it won't find any. If you go, if you go not sensitive enough, it won't find any. If you go to the other end, it might find obstacles that you're not looking for. So you want to toggle this around. The height is automatically set by the first obstacle. So I can click apply here, go back to the 3D, and we'll see that these obstacles are already all at the same height. Makes sense for what looks to be the same AC unit 3 times over. One final feature is external shading objects. So you can put in trees. Usually they're just, drag for the radius of the tree. This is a small tree. It's actually shorter than the height of the building. So it's not going to have any effect on shading, but you may have trees that are taller. You can make it just like that so that the shading impact of those trees is noticed during the simulation. We're going to jump now to the next stage, which is the module placement. So the first step in module placement is setting setbacks on your rooftop. So highlight in blue, click the edge that you're working with. That'll be the inside facet of this roof. You can use these blue arrows to align the azimuth with the rooftop edge. So this is the one I want. This is the most south-facing rooftop edge. So that's where we want to align our solar panels with. And then when we select our setback settings, you can have a bunch of saved profiles under your user account. So if, for example, you have different settings for different states that you're designing in, you want to save all those so that it's quicker for you, you can definitely do that under your profile. For today, I'm just going to type it in. There are no hips, valleys, ridges, or rakes on this roof, so we'll just use a 4-foot walkway from all of the edges. You can see now a space here that's got a little cross-hatching border. That's the 4-foot from the edge that we need. So you can drag this out and make it larger just by hand manually. I'm going to Control Z, put that back in place, okay? So now we have our rooftop defined with the setbacks, with obstacles in place. the next thing to do is put our modules down on this roof. So on the top right here, I'm going to click on Add PV Modules. This left side is going to pop up our menu. You can save particular modules, models that you use often. The Q-Cells 480 is the one that I see quite a bit of, so that's the one I'm going to choose for today. You can see the datasheet specifications here. If you can't find your module, same as before, go all the way to the bottom. You can input your own module based on the datasheet specifications that you have. The color here is really just aesthetic, so I don't mess around with that much. You can add bifaciality function. Excuse me just a moment. And then you get into all of your racking parameters. So a typical rooftop like this, we're going to use a tilted rack system, not a flush mount. And in this case, we'll stay away from the dual tilt. You can set landscape or portrait. The azimuth angle, as I said, is going to be set by the rooftop edge here. So you can change it so it's not in line. In this case, as is most common, we're going to keep it right in line with the rooftop, almost 180 degrees, which is pretty good. The tilt angle, that's set by the racking manufacturer, of course. So if you have your racking information, the height, this is the bottom of the racking. So again, this is set by manufacturer, same with column and row spacing, but we'll make it nice and simple, 1-inch columns and 1 foot between each row. So what you can do is drag and drop an area to fill panels. This is one way of doing it. The way I like to do it generally is to use the autofill toggle here, and it's going to maximize panel on the rooftop space, okay? And so this is maximizing your space on the rooftop, and then I like to go through and delete panels that we don't want here. So first thing I'll do is grab these panels right next to the AC units and create a walkway all the way through so that any maintenance personnel has access. Click on one module, use the corner to drag to however many modules that you want to capture, and then just click delete to get rid of them. So we're going to get some space around these AC units so that people can work around them. I'm not sure what this shadow here is, but we'll give it enough space, just in case that shadow is going to affect our modules. You can drag the entire array, but it's automatically going to cut off modules that fall within the keep out areas, if that's the setbacks or the obstacles. One more feature I'll show you is the irradiance feature. So this uses data from the nearest weather stations to estimate how much irradiance you're going to get depending on shading throughout the year. So in these yellow hotspots, 85% means you're going to have 85% of the module's absolute maximum production for the year in this location. When you get really close to these purple spots that are more heavily shaded, a lot less production. So that's going to help us in deciding which modules we want to keep and which modules we want to get rid of. So I'm going to drag over here and take out a few more modules there so that we have all this space from whatever this additional obstacle might be. For here, for example, you can add modules if you want, just by dragging to where there aren't currently modules. I'm gonna go here, take out some modules beside this AC unit. You can see these ones are lined in red because they are now, touching the obstruction. So we'll get rid of those. And we'll grab some over here as well. So for a quick system, come together pretty quickly. I think this is a pretty nice looking array. Obviously, if you want to spend a lot more time optimizing it as much as possible, more than welcome to do that. But to slap an array on a roof in 3 to 5 minutes or less, this is a pretty good start. So we'll move now to the most I would say important part of the process, and that is the electrical design. So right away, Designer is giving you recommendations for what optimizer and what inverter can be used with this site. That's based on two things. First, the stringing zone and the oversizing. So if you wanted to, for example, edit your stringing zone, let's say I just want a recommendation for this bottom subarray. It's going to be 140 modules, and it's going to suggest different inverter set for you. So in this case, 2 SE30s. I think it makes more sense to wire this all onto one inverter. It's a pretty small roof, so we'll reset to all. And here we can modify, what is our desired DC to AC ratio. So let's say we wanted to bring that down to 115%. It's going to change for us what the inverter is that's being recommended. Okay. Designer is only ever going to recommend you compatible equipment. So given the module we've already selected, it'll recommend only a list of compatible optimizers to go with that module, as well as with that inverter. So everything that's being recommended and being selectable as an option, the compatibility concern, that's taken care of. So I'm going to select the S1201 optimizer, it's kind of newer, a little bit extra features. And then we'll click auto stringing. I like to use the auto string to get a basic stringing design built in, and then I can go through and manually make changes as desired. So we'll click generate. You can see a fully string design is already given to us. What you're looking for in the electrical design section is that everything is valid. So green check marks on every string, every inverter subunit, and the main inverter itself means that this design is considered electrically valid according to SolarEdge design rules. If we make a mistake, something that isn't valid, it's going to pop up an error notification for us. Excuse me. And let us know that there's an error and that the design isn't valid. What I'm going to do is get rid of these 2 strings because I don't love stringing across the obstacle area. So I'm going to delete those 2 strings that come from this left side unit, and we're going to put those in manually. So how to do that? The basic way of manually stringing is just a click and drag. So you'll click down on the first module that's part of a string and drag to the next, and you'll just go all the way through. You can see right now the string is red because it's too short, and on the right side you can see there's a little red exclamation mark. That error is because the string is too short. But as we build it, make it longer, it'll come within the necessary minimum length for a string. And there we go. That's, that string now is totally valid. You'll notice that this string has 30 modules and the other string on this inverter has 32 modules. With SolarEdge, you have the flexibility to build strings in parallel, that aren't exactly the same length because the maximum power point tracking is happening at the optimizer level. As Varsha noted earlier, the magic wand stringing. This is also my favorite way of doing stringing. Basically going to click at the beginning of a row. It's automatically going to string the rest of the row and ask you for the next place to start. So I'm going to click here, and it's automatically going to string us through to what it's decided is the optimal size, 32 modules, and finish the string. What you can do is go back to the manual method, grab the end of this string, and add the additional modules so that the entire system is wired. Again, you'll see this one is a 38 module string. I want to drag that down here so that it's 3 strings on each unit. I think with a lot more time, we might be able to make an even prettier, tighter, more balanced system where every string is the same size, easier, for our installers to not get tripped up along the way. But as you can see, everything here is valid, and that's the main thing that we're looking for. I'm going to move over this inverter to a likely ground mount location so that I can show you one other exciting feature on the electrical design page, and that is the DC cabling feature. So when you click on the DC cabling, it's going to ask you for a relative inverter height. Let's say the inverter is mounted 6 feet off the ground. And what's the cable gauge for our home run? So 10 gauge copper seems likely in this case. And you're going to see that the DC strings here are all the way laid out from your module strings to your inverter. If you want to route them specifically, you can grab on a string, change its routing Obviously, no one would route quite like that, but you can just Control Z to undo and put it back to this nice, 90-degree routing, which is reasonably likely to see on a site. You can add DC combiner boxes, change the string sizing, from the DC combiner box. We'll probably use something larger if we're using 3 combiner boxes for 3 synergy units on this inverter. So all of this stuff is really nice. AC cabling side, you have the same features. So from your inverter to your grid interconnect point, mess around with the sizing of the inverter cable or the PGC cable. I'm going to clear the AC cabling for now. All of this is really nice in our next step, which is the financial analysis portion. So what you're getting from the cabling side is a really solid estimate of your balance of system components. How much feet of 10-gauge cable are we going to need to get additional to make our home runs? 2-gauge cable, combiner boxes, all of those electrical BOS components, the designer can basically create a BOM for you. You can even export it in an Excel file. You can estimate the prices for those components. You can save certain part numbers that you use often for those components, all of that under your profile. So for the sake of time, I'm going to estimate the entire system price. Let's call it $250,000 here, and move on from guessing the CapEx costs of our system. We're going to add incentives as they are available. Obviously, the ITC is available everywhere in the country. You can add state-based incentives as well. If you don't have your incentive, again, you can include the specific information about it by going down here. All these financial parameters are part of the production simulation and ROI analysis. So how long do we expect the system to last? How much are we spending on O&M costs annually? How much does it cost to replace the inverter? This is actually based on the warranty cost in this case. Battery, not relevant for this system, but some smaller systems might make use of batteries as well. And all of these minor pieces I'll allow you to look through at your own time. I don't want to take too much time explaining each one. But all of this input up till now, both on the financial, the electrical design, module placement, everything, building up to this step, which is our summary and report tab. So right now it's doing the simulations, ROI calculations, and it's generating for us a report of the system. Starts with these images of the system, which you can mess around with as you choose, add irradiance or not. We won't spend too much time on that. You can put your logo so that when you print this as a PDF, it's got a professional feel to it for any proposal you might be making. Every piece of this report is editable. So if you want not to keep this system overview, or you want to change the order, these arrows on the side, you can change the order that they're put in, or press the little X to get rid of it. Under report settings, you can do all of this in one view. You can bring back system overview, for example, or drag and drop it to a different area of the report. Simulation results here, including your performance ratio and your performance index. Some production consumption data, monthly energy, just notes from SolarEdge. You can keep these in or not, it's totally up to you. Down at the bottom is where we can mess around with some of our loss factors. So for example, soiling and snow, the yearly value of 0%, probably a little low for Pennsylvania. So we can increase that, for example, to 2%. If we click apply, it's automatically going to rerun the simulations for us. And you'll see that the production estimates are slightly lower. So for example, where we had a performance ratio of 87% before, now it's 2% lower, 85%. Okay. So these reports can be printed as PDF. You can download the simulation file, all the simulation data in a CSV file format. And then over here, you can look at the project layout. So if you wanted to download a PDF or DXF version of the layout, I'll just open it up for us to look at. It's going to look something like that. Same thing in the DXF version. So if you have a drawing set that you're building, you can use this as a basis for that drawing set or slide it into the drawing set somewhere. Finally, the sharing feature here allows you to share either just the proposal, which is what the report looks like, link with a customer, or with other users, partners or members of your own organization. If you select can view, then they can view everything, including any of the tabs, any of the inputs, or change it to edit, and they can make changes just as you would as the project owner. The final step is the export. So once you're all good with your design, you feel confident and it's ready to go, you can export it directly to the monitoring portal. If you've had experience using our monitoring portal before, that's where you are viewing your site live, via internet connection, down to the module level, inverter level. How's everything performing? Part of that process is building the layout. So if you've already done the design and the layout in Designer, you can export that directly to the monitoring. Makes it a lot more seamless. Once you export, that site will exist permanently in monitoring. So just make sure you double check that everything is how you want it to be laid out. So we'll quickly recap what we went through, and then obviously we'll get to some questions in just a minute here. So starting with project info, that's basic address, grid information. Consumption's our next step, upload monthly data, or you can just use one of the consumption profiles that's already built in. The site modeling is where we're building the site in 2 dimensions and 3 dimensions, including external shading objects, obstacles on the roof, things like that. PV module placement, that's where we're building the array onto our surface, onto our site. Electrical design is where we select the optimizers and inverters. We do all of the stringing to make sure it's valid according to SolarEdge design rules. The financials is where we input all of our information to do the ROI calculations. And then finally, summary and reports, that's where we get our results from the simulations and the financial calcs. And the last step is the export. So I just want to highlight this main point one more time. If your project isn't SolarEdge approved, you're going to know. So these red exclamation marks, they come up, they'll tell you exactly what the issue is, and if you hover over them, string power too high, for example, in this case. And all of our latest rules are constantly being updated, so you can't go wrong. You'll be notified of any violation that will void warranty. We also have little orange exclamation marks that come up sometimes, and that's just going to point out where there are non-optimal designs, still valid designs, but they might result in a loss of production. So some of our key takeaways. Number one is that Designer is meant to streamline your design process. A lot of automated features and tools help to reduce the labor involved, saving you time, ensuring accuracy, and optimizing the system for SolarEdge products. It enables real-time collaboration. You can work with other team members at the same time to make sure that everyone is on the same page with how the system is being designed. Easy export of AutoCAD files. If you want to upload an existing DXF into the Designer suite program, you can do that and work off of that as your basis for your drawing. And last, there's a detailed project documentation, string layout, mapping assistance, simulation, and all of that is to ensure accuracy and that you have all the information you need to optimize the performance of your system, optimize the energy production. So I want to note a couple of the exciting features on our Designer roadmap. So first, as I showed, is the DC and AC cabling feature. So you're going to be able to do your DC cabling layout, your AC cabling layout, and create an estimate of your electrical balance of system components. And that should be widely available by the end of this year. The single line diagram generation is something that's coming up next year. So automatically going to create a single line diagram for you that you can put into a project plan set and use for help when you're applying for permits. As Varsha mentioned, PVSys integration, something we already have, but we're working on making it, seamless, single buttons, so that you can drop projects back and forth between PVSys and Designer, and make sure that we're on the same page for PVSys, which is sort of the industry standard in performance modeling, but you're using Designer to help make sure that you build your system properly all along the way. And finally, something coming up in 2024 is the automatic PV placement and electrical design. So it's sort of a two-in-one. You can automate the placement of PV panels on the roof and the stringing, all with like one click of a button. So just going to help save time, get you from site building all the way to validation even faster. So some further learning resources. When we share these slides, these are all hyperlinked, so you can access these resources online. Our Edge Academy is a online resources with tons and tons of videos about SolarEdge products and learning about SolarEdge, and there's some specific Designer stuff on there. So on-demand demos for commercial site, carport, ground mount sites, as well as a quick start guide, tips and tricks. We have a YouTube channel, which includes a tutorial playlist for Designer tutorials. And then there's good old-fashioned written documentation that you can find on our Knowledge Center online. So these are a little bit more specific topics. How do you import a DXF file properly? How do you maximize the utility of the financial analysis tool? All of that is available. So with that, I think we should move on to the question and answer period. And I will allow.
All right, Jacob, let me open it up as well. Yeah, we now open the platform to questions. Jacob, that was a really power-packed session. Demo, you got that. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, so there are a few questions coming up here. Also, feel free to leave any other questions, and we'll make sure we use the next 13 minutes to address them. Okay, so Jacob, there is a question. Is there a way to add setbacks to the obstacles?
Oh, good question. So as of now, no, you don't add setback. The site setback settings don't apply to obstacles. So when you're drawing the rectangular area, my typical method is to draw it slightly larger than the obstacle so that you have a space around it, free for O&M personnel to work on it.
Okay, got it. Maybe we can add it to the roadmap to add that. I don't know. Oh, yeah. It's a useful feature. Yeah. Okay, great. And then is there a way to change the unit of measurements from centimeter and meter to inches and feet? And inches to feet?
Yes, good question. So if you go to your user profile settings, maybe I'll just show us how to do it. Yeah, so under user details, you're going to go to settings. It's actually going to take you over to the monitoring portal. Sorry, not that one. User details. That's going to take you over to the monitoring portal. So once you log in there, that's where you can change between imperial and metric units. I don't want to take too much time showing this, so let's jump to the next question. I'll see about getting this up while we go.
Perfect. Let me see. So there is another question from Michelle. I don't see the AC and DC wiring options on my Designer page. Is there an option to turn that on?
So it's not generally available yet. I'm expecting it to be very, very soon. But the reason I have it and you don't see it just yet is because I have access to the beta features right now.
Ah, lucky you. Okay. You're a super user. You've got that superpower to turn it on. Okay. Yeah, and Jacob, do you know when that will be available for everybody? Is it next year?
I'm expecting it. Yeah, should be definitely Q1 next year. I think quite possibly within the month. And just to answer the earlier question, once you get to your settings page here, you can display units. You can switch between metric and imperial. This is under monitoring, but it's the same setting between monitoring, platform, and designer.
Oh, excellent. And speaking of monitoring, there is a question about how would an engineer, not an installer, be able to register on the website to use the software? Do we need to have a monitoring login?
So if you have a monitoring login, it's the same login credentials to get into Designer. If you don't, I know it says, register here if you're an installer. Just click through that and keep going. There's actually a drop down at some point which asks your role, and then you'll select engineer there. But it's the same. Click through that to create an account.
Oh, okay, excellent. So that means even if you are an independent engineer, you should be able to access Designer, right? You do not necessarily need a monitoring log.
That's correct.
Okay, thanks, Jacob. Let's see, a couple more here. Does the inverter and optimizer selection list reflect all the products, or is it only the currently available marketed products?
It'll reflect all previous products that are compatible with the, everything you've done up to that selection point. Future products, no, not yet, unfortunately. But yeah, any previous product, something that you'll find as no longer being sold. If you have access to that and you want to design with that, you can still use that on Designer.
Okay, great. I think. Let me see. Oh, Johan said that what I've done before to add setbacks to obstacles is add the obstacles as a new roof itself and add the setbacks between the roof and the real roof.
Yes, so you can definitely do that. You can build it's a little workaround, build a roof. Unfortunately, when you do that, you won't be able to use the automatic detection feature for similar obstacles. But it's definitely, one way of adding setbacks.
Gotcha. Thanks, Jacob. Last, maybe a couple more questions. So how can you delete an exported project from monitoring?
You can't delete an exported project from monitoring. So you can copy, when you go to your list here, you can, create a duplicate with a slightly different name and export a new, make any of the changes that you wish you had made, export a new project to the monitoring. You might have, depending on how far you've gone in the monitoring side, if you've already put in your serial numbers, things like that, you might need SolarEdge support to help you make those changes. But once a site exists in the monitoring portal, you won't be able to delete it. So just make sure you're double checking before that.
Great, thank you. And then how important is it to balance string sizes on three-phase systems?
It's a good question. So the design rule is a maximum of 5 optimizers different. That means up to 10 modules different size. So it's not super important in terms of how our equipment operates. It's nice to balance the amount of power between synergy units if you're using a synergy inverter. But because of the optimizer structure, you're still going to get that same maximum power point tracking down to every pair of modules. The reason I like to keep things balanced is that it makes it simpler for installers, for people who are looking at the drawings to know what's going on. So, and I think for that reason, balance is usually a good thing. And that's why the auto stringing feature leans toward balanced strings. But if your strings are too far different, Designer will let you know.
Okay. And just speaking about auto stringing, one last question here. I have noticed that the auto stringing function sometimes results in strings that are larger than what's permitted by the optimizer datasheet. Do you have any suggestions or ideas on how to address this?
Yeah, so the datasheet is a great first resource for how you want to do your stringing. Designer is actually looking a little bit deeper at your site. So what's the angle, the tilt angle, and the azimuth angle of your modules? What are the temperature corrections in terms of maximum power that will be reached by those modules in those locations installed as they are? Because of those additional checks, Designer is going to have slightly more flexible maximum power per string than you'll find on the datasheet. As Varsha said, if Designer says your system is good to go, it's valid, all green check marks, then SolarEdge is going to stand behind, that 25-year warranty if it's built as it's drawn in Designer. So the data sheet is a great starting place, but Designer has a bit more flexibility, and sometimes you can add power to strings because of that.
Got it. Thanks, Jacob. I think we have time for one last question, so I'm going to read it out. Does SolarEdge have plans to auto-populate in the utility provider or utility rate in the consumption profile tab?
Short answer is yes. Most, as whoever asked this question noted, most locations, and when you put your address in, there's only one utility that can possibly be connected to there. So yes, we are working on the auto population for that. There are some places where you still have options, obviously not the entire list of options, but yes, short answer, we are working on that.
Awesome. I think that's probably it for today. So I just want to thank Pranik and Julia for hosting us today, and Jacob, thanks for sharing your expertise.
Sure, thanks everyone.
Yeah, thank you all.
Have a good day.
Thanks all, have a great day, bye.